Hi there, Rita. I'm very happy to see you've written more essays for us. Let's take a look. About 3 types of cars sold in some European: Ford, Audi, and BMW. Generally speaking, the 3 brands had a peak of sales. This isn't. It's no C here. Of sales in Hungary, with more than a quarter. Okay. Looking at the information in more detail, no S here. Hungary's sales were the highest, with 400,000 cars sold, with 300 sales, half of the total sales in 2018 in Europe. In the following 3 countries, Germany, Ireland, D here, and Holland, each accounted for 2 sold with a total of 7. H here, which is barely half of the total sales. Okay. The least sales were considerably lower than typing account 370 cars sold only, specifically in UK 200,000, Belgium 50,000, finally in Italy 120,000. Okay. In the BMW is the strongest brand with more than 700,000 vehicles sold. The second is Ford with more or less 600,000 sold, and finally Audi with 300,000 car sales only. Okay, so this is interesting. Let's see. I think it's interesting the way you've seen you base essentially, but I don't think it's effective. I really want you to describe the graph a little more. What do I mean? You made conclusions, but I feel like that's all you did. You didn't really describe. Let me see if I can explain what I mean. You know what? Hang on one second. Let me actually bring. Okay, so here's what we're looking at. And you just really spent a lot of time doing the math. You don't really need to do all that work. So how would I recommend actually dealing with this? Yes, absolutely talk about Hungary, okay? And talk about that total reaching 400,000. Yes, talk about France reaching just above 300,000, okay? And then what I would suggest is grouping all these things that are in the middle. There's like these 5 countries that are between 200,000 and 300,000. Kind of lump them together. And then say that, you know, Italy was just above 100,000 and Belgium was just under 100,000, okay? And then you're pretty much done with that section of the chart, okay? You've pretty much analyzed the totals. So you don't have to spend too much time on it. What I do want you to then spend some time on is the individual car figures, okay? The company figures. So it looks like, for the most part, BMW is the most sold car, and I think you said that as well in your description. But rather than like coming up with these totals and so forth, you could have just analyzed what you actually see. That in 1, 2, 3, 4 of the countries, car sales of BMW were over 100,000. Okay, and then in 1, 2, 3, 4, you could say that they were just under 100,000. You could say what they are. You could say only in Belgium are BMW car sales like negligible. All right, and then you can talk about Ford. The big country, the big buyers of Ford were obviously, again, Hungary and now Holland. You can see what that figure is. And then you can talk about some of these, like France, UK, France, UK, and maybe Ireland and Belgium, actually. You can put them together. And then you can kind of lump the rest of them that are a lot smaller together. And then just like 1 or 2 similar sentences about Audi, and then you're out of there. Okay, so you don't have to do all this work calculating and adding and, you know, saying that like, oh, it was 1/3 of the total cars sold and so forth. Okay, so this really just makes your life easier because you're actually just describing what you're looking at, and that's the goal, to make the examiner kind of visualize what you're looking at. All right, so I hope that's helpful. Just some ideas about how to organize an answer like this. Okay, let's take a look now at your other task. Okay, Rita, here it is. Let's see. In recent years, environmental issues have been, not are, have been, because it started in the past, it continues, and we're focusing on this time period. So In recent years, environmental issues have been decreasing dramatically, in particular in the biggest cities. But why is it happening, and what can we do about the situation? This essay will discuss the reasons why this is happening. Well, that's a little repetitive, isn't it? This essay will discuss the reasons and put forward several solutions for these problems. Okay, I think that's probably a better way to do that. First of all, there are undoubtedly many reasons that contribute to the world pollution. It is clear that carbon dioxide produced by cars is one of the most important. An example from my own experience is the city of Rome, where people use the car even for the smallest trip, okay? You can't do this because you have to have some sort of connection instead of using public transport. Furthermore, another reason is the factories' pollution. To be more precise, their toxic waste contributes, to polluting air, contributes to doing something, okay? And also rivers. In fact, they are contaminating the environment so heavily, all right, change the word order, that animal life is seriously compromised. An example of that are some animal species in the sea, like whales, who are significantly disappearing. Careful with your A, and just add as a result of pollution, okay? Because then somebody could say, well, maybe there are other reasons why the whales are disappearing. All right. In contrast, we can do our not little bit part, careful, that has a totally different meaning. So in contrast, we can do our part to resolve this big problem. I'm not a huge fan of the word big in essays. Call it just like an idiosyncrasy, if you will. But I really think that in an IELTS essay, especially when you're trying to get a higher band score, there's so many other words that carry so much more meaning than words like big, small, good, bad, okay? So try to avoid these words. You can say it's an enormous problem. You can say it's a catastrophic problem. You can say it's a problem of epic proportions. I mean, there's such a rich variety of ways that you can express this, okay? Firstly, we can recycle waste material like paper or glass so that we can use it again, okay? And this would reduce rubbish in our landfills and so forth. So give me the reason about why it would help pollution, why it's a solution to the problem. We should also choose, excuse me, we should also choose products in the supermarket, careful with your word order. So products in the supermarket in biodegradable packaging. For example, all the plastic bags, S, should be banned by shops and substituted with a U here by biodegradable bags. Why? Okay, again, say how this affects the environment. This would have as a result less plastic in our seas, oceans, and in our landfills, okay? In addition, careful, this is a totally different word. We could try to eat organic food, which means that toxic products are not used. By this, I mean that oceans will be free of poisons, not poisonous. You want the noun, not the adjective, that kills the fish. No ES. Finally, we can avoid using the car and use public transport. No S. It is easy, don't use contractions, please, and can really help our environment. Okay? Again, you would have less emissions with fewer cars. So in conclusion, I believe that on the one hand, governments have to take measures to resolve the problem. On the other hand, people will, with their behavior, can do a lot to change direction before it becomes impossible. I believe, in fact, that every little change in our life can definitely help to reduce pollution in our cities and generally in the world. All right, lovely. Look, as far as your ideas go, they're very nice. You've structured them well. It's a well-written essay. They're just some little things that I want you to fix. All righty? So go ahead and correct these essays. I'm looking forward to see how you apply my suggestions in your rewrite. And don't forget your essay correction, your error correction list, and of course new essays. I'll be looking forward to them. So good luck, and I will be waiting to see what you write next.